right, are you ready for the letter Yud? Sherry is off today, but what we did, we videotaped her with her whiteboard at the office. So in just a few minutes, she'll be up on videotape and you can be watching her do her part. But let's start now with the letter Yud. If you go ahead and bring up, our 10th letter is the letter Yud. So it has a numerical value of 10. Now, in the ancient Hebrew, Yud or Yod means hand. And so they drew the picture of like an arm with an elbow and fingers out like this. But that's what it means. Now, one of the interesting things is the letter Yud is the smallest letter. Some people refer to it as the jot of the jot and tittles. Yud is the smallest letter. So it basically means a closed hand. It's a deed. You're going to find coming up the letter Kaf, which is an open hand. But right now we're looking at Yud, which represents a closed hand. And when you think of a closed hand, you think of someone going, this is mine. Okay, you're grabbing a hold of something, saying, it is mine. Well, it denotes power, hand, okay, like God's mighty hand. The letter Yud denotes having power and also possession. For example, if you look at this next slide, on top is the word Shem. And what does Shem mean? Anyone remember? Name. When you put the letter Yud at the end, it becomes my name. Okay, so the letter Yud denotes possession. This is now mine. So when the letter Yud is at the end of a Hebrew word, it becomes possessive. This is my hand. All right, now what's fascinating is the Yud is what number? And the 10th commandment is don't covet. Think about that. When you think of coveting, you think of your hand. And here, it's a good way to remember the commandments is when you assign the letters to each one of the commandments. Maybe one of these days I'll go over that. But you can see, like, don't covet. When you remember that, remember the 10th commandment is hand, and you're not to be possessive of things. Now, so we know here that every Hebrew letter is also a word. And the word Yod, you see the letter Yud and then the Dalet, Yod, means hand. It's the number 10. And the symbolic meaning would be a deed. Now, one of the things, when you were to form something, if you're going to make something, you use your what? You use your hands. Well, what's fascinating is in Genesis chapter 2, verse 19, God, it says, out of the ground, the Lord God formed every beast of the field. So you can see God is forming it. He's using his hand. And the Hebrew word there has a Yud to form. He's using his hand to form every beast of the field. But you know what's amazing? And again, you don't see this in English. You only see it in the Hebrew. In Genesis 2:7, it talked about how the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground. Now, in English, we see the same word twice, formed and formed. But in Hebrew, it's a different spelling. It's the same word, but when it comes to making man, God used both his hands. There's two letter Yuds. It's more personal. It's more intimate. So I think it's fascinating that when God formed the beast, it's like he used one hand, but when he formed man, we find two letter Yuds. I think the two hands that God created us with also symbolizes the dual nature of mankind. Now, if you remember the letter Vav, what is a Vav? Vav is a nail, just as a nail secures two boards together, like a hammer pounds a nail, and it unites these two things. I think it's fascinating that it is said that nothing should exist today. Scientists who've been studying the Big Bang have come out and said the universe shouldn't even exist. And they say the reason why is because the antimatter and the matter are always equal and they always destroy each other. And so they say with the Big Bang, whatever that was, there's always an equal number of matter and antimatter, but they always, when they collide, destroy each other. So what is holding everything together? They don't know what is the Vav, what is the nail that keeps everything from being destroyed. Well, what I think is fascinating is you take the word Hava, the two hays is like that. Hay means to reveal, to behold. Well, this Hebrew word has like these two levels, the physical, the spiritual, or you can look at the antimatter and the matter, and there's this vav right in the middle that is keeping these things together, and that's the word Hava. And in Hebrew, the word Hava means to exist, to be present. But guess what? There is a hand that is holding all of this together, and that forms God's name, the Yud-He-Vav-He. You take the hand of God and add it to what is existent and present. God is the one. It's his hand that is holding everything together. Now, to me, that is absolutely incredible. And so here we have the nail reveals, or the revelation of what holds everything together. And we know that from Colossians 1, 16 and 17, in him everything was created in heaven and earth, visible, invisible, thrones, dominions, principalities, authorities. All things were created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And so this is absolutely incredible. So putting the letter Yud, which means hand, in front is telling us this is the one whose hand makes what exists. And so the Yud-He-Vav-He, it's his hand is what makes everything exist. All right, next. I think it's fascinating that in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1 through 3, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. And it says, without him was not anything made that was made. And Hebrews 1:3 says, he upholds all things by the word of his power. So this name, the Yud-He-Vav-He, is quite incredible when you break it down. But I want to show you something else. Look at this picture language. The letter Yud, we know, Yod is hand, and it represents a deed. The He was a person standing there in Moses' day like this going, hey! And it means to reveal or to behold. You remember that. And you see that a vav means to secure, and it was a nail. Well, the amazing thing about that, if you remember in John 20, 27 and 28, doubting Thomas comes, and he says, I won't believe unless I see your hand. And Yeshua says to Thomas, literally, behold, reach here your finger, behold my hands, reach here your hand, thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. And Thomas answered and said to him, my Lord and my God. Why did he say that? Here, Yeshua, like the letter He, which means behold, says, behold my hands. And he's standing like the letter He, so we can behold his hands. And God's very name in the ancient Hebrew was the hand revealed, the nail revealed. When Moses wrote God's name, the Yud-He-Vav-He, it looked like this, a hand being revealed, a nail being revealed. So that he looked at Yeshua and said, you are my Lord and my God. You are the Yud-He-Vav-He. Now, the other thing about the letter Yud, it's the smallest letter. And God is humble. That's why he begins his name with the smallest letter. He doesn't begin it with the Lamed, the biggest letter. I'm big, I'm God. No, Israel begins with the letter Yud. Jacob begins with the letter Yud. Okay, Yeshua begins with the letter Yud. Everything that is truly powerful and strong, here God begins with the smallest, most insignificant of letters, because it's not about, just about me, it's not, about that. So I think it's incredible that the God of heaven and earth uses the smallest letter to form his name. Now in Deuteronomy 32:18, it says, of the rock that gave birth to you, you're no longer mindful. I mentioned that earlier this morning, talking about forgetting God. And it says here, of the rock that begot you or gave birth to you, you're unmindful. And it says, you've forgotten God who formed you. All right? Well, here we see, right here is that verse, and I want you to notice the literal letter Yud has been made even smaller in this text. Because they've forgotten the God who formed them, the God's power has been diminished in their sight. Now, you don't see this in English, and in the Hebrew, you can see the little letter Yud has been made even smaller in this text in every Torah scroll. And Deuteronomy 32:18, where it says, of the rock that gave birth to you, you're unmindful, you've forgotten the God who formed you, so that letter Yud has been made even smaller in every Torah scroll. But what's incredible is the next one. You see the Yud is made real, real big. Okay? That is from Numbers 14, 17, and 18. This is where we find the occasion of the 10 spies, and I can't help think of Yud, the number 10, and how many fingers and thumbs do we have? 10. Okay. In Numbers 14, 17, and 18, it says, Moses is saying, now let the power of my Lord be great, according as you have spoken. The Lord is long-suffering and full of mercy. You forgive iniquity and transgression. Okay? It is here where the letter Yud is made big, where he says, let the power of my Lord be great. You can see the word Yigadol, okay? Power, Adonai, of the Lord, be great. And so here, God's hand is made exalted and big when he shows mercy and forgiveness. So to me, the letter Yud is incredible. And at this time, we're going to let Sherry take over. So, take it away, Sherry.
Hi, everybody. Coming to you today from the office at El Shaddai Ministries, and I'm happy to be here. And we're going to do this amazing letter Yod. Yod sounds like y in yellow or yes. So everybody try it. Y. All right. Yod is easy to write. It's like a comma floating in the air. So let's try it. We're just going to... It's one stroke, and it's a curved, short line, so it's just like this. Start at the top and just bend that little line down. Okay, that is your Yod. So Yod is the smallest letter, and it is said to be like the atom of the Hebrew alphabet, because it's the beginning and the ending of every single letter. It's formed at the beginning and the end, and that's how they say it is like the atom. Yod represents a closed hand, and if your hand is closed around some cookies, what are you saying? They're mine. And so Yod is at the end of a word, like these two words, you see the ani and the v'ni. Yod is at the end, and it shows possession. So let's read these words. This is a noon, and this is a noon, and I know you haven't had these letters yet, but it says n. So the this vowel point, just treat it as a dash that's going to say ah. So this is going to be ni, and it means I. So I is obviously possessive. This word is v'ni, and it means my son. And what makes the my part of it is the Yud at the end, the Yod that says mine, my son. So that's something fun to know, and it's something that you'll use all the time as you read Hebrew. So let's practice reading some Hebrew words. And the first one is, now what's your vowel in this word? It's the vav with the O at the top, and makes you say, oh, look at that beautiful moon. So you have the y sound with the O, so you have Yod. Yod. And that's the name for the letter Yod. And then you have 4 letters that you're very familiar with. The Yod, He, Vav, He, which is, of course, the unpronounceable name. And it is translated as capital L-O-R-D, all capitals in our English Bibles. So again, a name of the Lord beginning with Yod. And here we have a letter that we haven't had yet, 2 letters actually. This is a sheen with the dot on the right. It says sh. And this is an ayin at the end of a word with a dash under. It's silent like aleph. So it's going to be ye, shu, ah. Why do we say shu? Because these two are working together. This is the vowel sound, the oo right here, and it's going to go with shu, ah. So let's do it again. Ye, Yeshua. And we all know that name. So another name of the Lord beginning with a yod. Here we have the word yod. So we know that the one dash is an ah sound. So we have yod. Yod. And it means hand. And here, isn't that interesting that a hand, a closed hand, would begin with a closed hand? And here we have yis, and here we have a sheen again, but when the dot is above the left side, it just says s, like in snake. So we have Yisrael, and Israel, which is, of course, Israel. And another amazing name beginning with the letter Yod. And we will have more about the Yod next week, so be sure and tune in. Thank you.